Okay, hold on a second. Let me get Gloria to do. If you walk over there and tell them we're ready. Okay, it's gonna come on. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Michael. I'm Jim's neighbor.
Oh,
She's
okay.
here. She's here. Yeah, turn it.
Okay.
Turn
Okay.
it off.
Okay. Jim. Okay.
Turn it off. Okay. Okay. If everybody put yourselves on mute now, please. We'll have a rough start, but we're starting. I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman. I do not mean to be controversial. I thank you for coming, but I have tweaked this poem a little bit, and I have given more room to women in this poem. And so, Mr. Whitman, I apologize for revising your poem a little bit, but I think you'll hear it when I get to it. I hear America singing, the varied carols I hear, those of mechanics, each one singing his as it should be blithe and strong, the carpenter singing his as he measures his plank or beam, the mason singing his as he makes ready for work or leaves off work, the boatman singing what belongs to him in his boat, the deckhand singing on the steamboat deck, the shoemaker singing as he sits on his bench, the hatter singing as he stands, the woodcutter's song, the plowboy's on his way in the morning or at noon, intermission or at sundown, the delicious singing of the mother or of the young wife at work, or of the girl sewing or washing, the domestic worker, the workers laboring to pick our food, or the woman doctor, attorney, social worker, or how she labors in Congress passing laws for the people, each singing what belongs to him or her and to none else. The day, what belongs to the day, at night, the party of young fellows, robust, friendly, singing with open mouths their strong, melodious songs. Happy Labor Day, and welcome to Defeat the Republican Recall. I'm Jim Moreno, and I'm your host today. We are recording. If you do not, if you're in the audience and you do not want people to know that you're with us, you can take your video off. You can stop your video, and you can rename yourself. So we wanted to give you that courtesy to let you know that we're recording. I wanted to thank all the poets from all over the place that have joined us today. I usually say when I'm reciting a poem and I'm at an open mic, it's nice to be a poet among poets. Well, it's really nice to be a poet among these poets. We have some very talented people. We have a guest speaker from Dallas, Gloria Verdu, who's been very active in social justice. I've known her over 20 years. So Gloria is here. Welcome. And I wanted to just let you know that you have a mail-in ballot right now if you are in California. And if you would like to help defeat the recall of Governor Gavin Newsom, you can take that mail-in ballot and open it up, and there'll be a thing at the top that says no, color that in, and then put it in your envelope. And on the outside of the envelope, sign it, put your signature, and then date it. And you're helping us to defeat this fascist recall of elected officials that's going on. And they make it seem like there's a majority that doesn't like Governor Newsom, but it's a very small minority that is very loud and also has a lot of money. They're very rich, and they're flooding the mass media with all kinds of stuff that's just not true. So that's what we're here today. We're here to tell the truth, and we're here to keep Governor Newsom our governor. I'd like to just talk a little bit about the history of the San Diego Tijuana Revolutionary Poets Brigade that is going to be performing for you today. And we started out as just the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, one of 12 chapters throughout the world. It was started by Jack Hirschman in San Francisco. He's a beat poet. He's passed away in this last year. And then when the 2016 election started happening, and this tremendous racism towards Mexico was being just amplified. And we talked to one another and said, what we have to do is we have to go binational and we have to go bilingual. Let's go down to Sept in Tijuana, which is the cultural center of Tijuana. It's on Los Eros Drive, on Los Eros Street. And we went down and we made an announcement after we had performed, and we said siento mucho por nuestro un presidente. We apologize for this man, and if there's any poets from Mexico that would like to join the brigade, and we can become the San Diego Tijuana Revolutionary Poets Brigade. And we got that second title from Pilar. She suggested that we call ourselves that, and we went for that. And because we wanted to model friendship with Mexico. We think friendship strengthens our borders, makes our borders safer. And maybe one day we won't need those fences at the borders because of friendship, not because of militarization, not because of hate or ignorance. So you get a little feel for the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, the San Diego Tijuana Revolutionary Poets Brigade. I want to remind everyone, if you could give some love right now to our super tech Alfred Williams, who's recording us right now. And Alfred, can you let everybody see your nice face, please? He's recording this right now. He is an amazing technician. He's just amazing. He has built my websites, 2 of them, and Joe Malash's website. He's a teacher of this Zoom craziness, this WordPress stuff that we can deal with. And we thank you, Alfred, for also protecting us against any bombers that might show up today. He's going to really dispatch them quickly. So let's see a film, I hope, by Elizabeth Warren. And if you know any prayers, Sharon, welcome. I did not think you were going to be here. So glad to see you. That's Sharon Elise.
Hey, sorry I have my camera off because of my Zoom connection.
She's a new grandma, and she smiles so much right now. You need sunglasses because she's a happy grandma. But let's watch Elizabeth Warren right now. I'm going to bring her up, and here we go.
We can shrug while they try to block Americans' democratic right to vote and resist every effort to fight climate change. Now, we can look away or we can fight back. Me, I'm fighting back. Are you ready to get in this fight? Are you ready? Are you really ready? Because I want you in this fight. I want you in this fight for women. I want you in this fight for children. I want you in this fight for our very earth. These fights, they're not just in Texas, Florida, South Dakota. These fights have come to California. So one more time, are you ready to fight? Good. Good. Now here's the good news. This fight right here in California involves one pretty simple step. Right now, California's in this recall election. It's quirky, but if you support Governor Newsom, all you have to do is vote no on the recall. Vote no, mail it in. Every registered voter had a ballot by mail. All you have to do is vote no, send it back by September 14th. So let's practice. What do we have to do? Vote no. What do we have to do? One more time. What do we have to do? All right, I think you got this part. But let me tell you why you should be in this fight and why it is so important to vote no. if we don't get enough people to vote no, if people stay home, if they decide this election is not important, we could all wake up with Republican Larry Elder as governor of California. And oh my goodness, if what happened in Texas or Florida or South Dakota makes you worry about the future of our nation and the survival of our planet, then Governor Larry Elder leading California should terrify you. So we're going to take just a minute here so you'll be ready to talk about this. Who is Larry Elder? Larry Elder is an anti-vax Republican who wants to roll back health protections that are keeping California safe. Elder is a man who once wrote, and I want to quote him on this. Quote him, let's just get it right here. He says, "Women know less about politics and economics than men." That's a little glimpse into that guy's soul. Now, Elder's right-wing supporters say he has promised to cut abortion funding, that he will veto any expansion of abortion rights, and that he will appoint extremist pro-life judges. That's what he'll do to this state. Larry Elder is the man who called global warming a crock and a myth. Elder is the man who cares so little for the hardworking people of California that he doesn't even believe there should be a minimum wage. I'm not talking $7, $1, 1 penny. He believes there should be no minimum wage in California. Make no mistake, Larry Elder dreams of being California's own Donald Trump. And I don't know about you, but I will fight with everything I've got to keep from putting one more Donald Trump Republican in office. You bet. But here's the really fun part of this rally. We can vote against Larry Elder, and in the very same moment, we can vote to keep Gavin Newsom as governor. I'm here for a very specific reason. I'm here because Gavin Newsom is a good man with good values, and he is an excellent governor. Consider his record and what his record tells you about his values. Under Governor Newsom's leadership, Californians have some of the highest vaccination levels in the country. Governor Newsom fights for your safety. Governor Newsom has put in place the California Comeback Plan, a plan to ensure that every Californian, regardless of race, regardless of zip code, that every Californian can build a better life. Governor Newsom fights for opportunity for all Californians. Governor Newsom has made unprecedented investments in our children, including universal pre-K and free school meals for every child in California. Governor Newsom fights for our kids. Governor Newsom understands that California succeeds when we invest in women's economic futures. I just love this part. It gives me goosebumps. He's worked to close the gender pay gap, to expand paid family leave. Oh yeah, and he believes that basic health care for women includes access to a safe legal abortion.
Okay.
7.
I think if you read the newspaper or you go on YouTube to get your news or whatever you do, you know that Gavin Newsom is not a saint, but he's not a Republican. And to summarize what you just saw, we're hoping that when someone puts no on their mail-in ballot, they're protecting our voting rights, they're protecting our minimum wage, they're protecting the safety of our children, they're protecting the lives of unarmed people of color, they're protecting the right to stop climate change, protect Mother Earth, she has a fever. And so we're hoping that this program of poets and speakers will be the genesis of more fighters that will fight the things that she just talked about. Thank you for coming. It's time for us to go into our show for today, our event for today. And this young man that I'm going to introduce right now, we just published a book in May of this year. It's called The Selected Poems of Steve Cowett, Poems That Speak to Us. He and I and Mary Cowett, Steve's widow, worked on this book for 3 years. I was the idea, Joe was the muscle, and Mary Cowett was the rudder. And so I've been in a critique group with him since both of us had hair, and I really respect the way he writes. This is Joe Malash. Everyone, please mute yourselves except Joe.
So you notice whenever Jim talks about how we were co-editors of the book, he makes the sailor the brain and the army guy a grunt. I just want to point that out just a little bit there. I was thinking today that about my wife. One time I came home after work and she was making tortillas. And so I walked into the kitchen and I said to her, "Tortillas again?" You know, I was hoping for a Wonder Bread sandwich, you know, sausage and liverwurst. And her response was very elegant. And this poem, I hope, captures some of it. It's called Child of the Sun and Earth. An ear of corn flies the brown silk flag of the earth. Inside the kernels, the sun glows like a firefly in amber. A motahekte is a bowl of basaltic rock used to grind corn. Add water and a tortilla is born, a child of the sun and soil. My pie-faced wife is also a child of the sun and earth. Her golden brown eyes light up when she mixes masa. She says the first tortilla was perfect off the grill, round like the sun, brown as the earth. She says, since then, millions of women have made millions and millions of tortillas, and now it is a sacred food. Today, when a mother or a wife makes a tortilla, it is a prayer for the family. This stack is a prayer I said for you, Joe. Patsy, after your death, I try to explain the best I can where all the space within my heart comes from, the beauty my eyes remember, and why today my body is uprooted. Thank you. That's it, Jim.
All right, yeah, let's give him some love for that. Thanks, Joe. Never get tired of hearing about Patsy, that's for sure. If you will look in the chat room, oh, it's gone. I'm gonna have to, well, basically what we're doing today, we're in solidarity with 100,000 Poets for Change. They're doing a global poetry reading event on Saturday, September 25th. We'll also be, the Brigade will also be doing a reading that day. But we sent in a notice to them that we're resonating with them today for what they're all about, the social justice values that we all value as Americans. And so on September 25th at 3 o'clock, we'll be doing another one of these events. We hope that you'll join us then. And so let's go with our next poet. She has just been named the International Beat Poet of the world. And we've known her. She was there that night when we were at Sukkot, and she was one of the 5 poets that walked up and said, we want to join with the Revolutionary Poets Brigade. And we've been watching in awe ever since. She's an amazing writer, amazing performer. Fasten your seatbelt. This is Pilar Rodriguez Aranda.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I mean, I know we're all part of this, the brigade. So it's not like you're inviting us and doing all these readings. I think it's really good. I've been thinking about this recall a lot because right now in Mexico, we don't have that established as law. And I'm not a Californian resident, so I'm not going to be able to vote, but I'm trying to understand this because in Mexico, the president himself is trying to establish the law so that we can vote and say, yes, we want you to stay, or no, we want you to go. But a lot of people don't want that to happen. But it's interesting for me to see this process. On the one hand, it's interesting to see how different our political evolution, our political history is as countries. And then the other part is a double-edged sword of having rights and how easily we can lose them, and we can have them, but we can also lose them. So we have to defend them, like Warren was saying, you know. So democracy doesn't need to be a double-edged sword. I think we need respectful dialogue and honest care for others. And we need to know that our decisions are important, and then we need to act on them, not just talk about it. So that's kind of like what I wanted to share in that sense. And then I'm going to share with you a poem, a very recent poem that I wrote in English, so I won't be translating. And I'll read slow because it's a new one. Pièce de résistance. Peace is never passive. A lesson pre and post COVID-19. I oppose like 1,000 more, and I won't give you a smile, nor will I change my utterance or sentiment. I am not for sale or hire. I oppose your tax and traffic, sex for money and money for sex, but oh, don't we love our lies and theatricality, our ability to flex. Like you, I own my body, my feeling, my thoughts. What I say is who I am, and I oppose. Words may cover and uncover aren't worthier than anything else. They can be twisted and converted into dope and torture with whatsoever no waste. Same soundtrack, opposing forces, we all have and need our psychological rituals we use to resist. We even resist what is best in and for us, if only because we've no idea what best looks like, and most times we will never know. Uncertainty fuels resistance, and ignorance strengthens resistance. Resistance furthers resistance, fears are compost, and apathy does the rest. The way some still oppose gay marriage, or women voting, or covering mouth and noses during COVID-19 times. I'm rather glad I don't need to touch others when I don't know them. But then I remember I used to measure people by their handshake. We are constantly measuring our decisions and others. They define us. Who do I buy from? What do they eat? How do I look? Do you handle your trash? Maybe some more distancing is healthy, but what about the poor, crowded, poisoned, weakened, crushed, and beneath under? More than a few have died, and most will continue life not as usual. And I oppose to what? To a new normal ITY. I oppose the rerun. Let us exit. Let's exist in a point of no returning. Let's feel our full resistance and change it. If data is the stance and science is finally leading the advance, then I believe in vaccinating our minds. I oppose doubt. Resistance is a weapon like no other double-edged sword. Such a blade can cut through others, but also through our souls. Do not resist too much or too little. Foresee and measure what will happen either way. Be real. Before us, a line of people, binary, non-binary, willingly and aware, seldom silently, have assumed leadership and shown us the way. Being aware and responsible, such is the job. Think of all and oneself, pursuing a commonality and a promise. I said I would change. Worst of all, I promised myself and I have failed. So I'm not judging, just saying it's worth versus fact. And I'm always on the watch out like a watch bitch, because I'm female, but anyone can be or name themselves whichever way they want. I oppose imposition, but then again, we need rules and compromisos to resist. To look after a whole community together, survive and oppose fear, and inasmuch and until possible, avoid any death end. Thank you. Vote no.
Can we give her some love, please? Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah. So Pilar has arranged, she's kind of been such a help, such a champion, a warrior for this idea that's become a dance. And there's a place, if you are looking over the border from San Ysidro into Tijuana, you see a big arch. And that arch is at the foot of Revolution Avenue. And there's a wax museum there. And right across the street from that wax museum is Enclave Caracol, which is a cafe that is a social justice cafe. They feed the homeless 4 days a week for free. And she arranged for us, for our binational, bilingual club that we have here, to go down and do some poetry readings there. And she had us bring poems that we could put on a clothesline across the cafe. And it was,
Actually, if I can interrupt, it was a 100,000 Poets for Change event.
is that what it was? Okay.
100,000, yeah.
That's what
And
it was.
so, but because of that event, at the open mic that we do once a month at the Space Bar in La Mesa, people started bringing cans of food for Enclave Caracol's Food Not Bombs program. They started to bring money. And so we started to go down and donate cans of food and money and things. And so, she and her partner, Gerardo Navarro, they have a bookstore in Tijuana that helps them head that. So Pilar and Gerardo, thank you so much. You gave us more meaning. Thank you. Our next speaker, I don't owe any money to. That makes me really happy. She's living in Dallas now, and I've known her since her daughter was a little girl, and her daughter is now a mom, and she's a grandma. But she has been spearheading getting political prisoners free. She has been against the Gulf Wars. She's been for nonviolence and for peace and not war. And she's an amazing writer. And it's my pleasure and my honor to introduce Gloria Verdu.
Thank you, Jim. Can everyone hear me pretty good? Okay. I'm going to read an essay on social justice. Okay. Social justice has many principles and expectations that deal with equality, education, economics, politics, immigration, jobs, livable wages, affordable housing, healthcare, crime and punishment, women and gender issues, and the environment. Social justice is a way of life for oppressed people, whether we know it or not. Life is a continuous fight to get what is right for every human being on the planet. The right to exist in an environment where everyone is encouraged to reach their full potential. Today, this is not a dream, but it must be a reality because in our current condition, it is imperative. We need every individual to be at their best for our survival on this planet. The inspiration to fight for justice and freedom came from life experiences, but my determination to educate and prepare myself for the lifelong struggle came from the strong women in my life, the courageous women who gave me the tools I needed to survive. I grew up in Crestview, a small town in Florida's Panhandle. I remember the signs that read, whites only, going to the shoe store and being told, try them, buy them, looking for a place to relieve myself when in a tight downtown in the white section. I wondered why there were no Black people working in the downtown city government buildings, banks, city hall, and the county administration buildings. I questioned this because I saw myself working in places like these when I grew up. My mom owned a restaurant on Chestnut Avenue, the main street across the railroad tracks that separated whites from Blacks. The Hornet's Nest was the hot spot for the boys from the Eglin Air Force Base who came seasonally for home-cooked meals. Fried chicken, catfish, trout, perch, chitlins, pig's feet, liver and onions, collard greens, fried okra, black-eyed peas, and green beans were all on the menu. But the all-time favorite was the Gladys burger, named after my mother. When the first Dairy Queen came to Crestview, I was excited. I had been to Dairy Queen in Niagara Falls, New York, while visiting my father. I said to my mother, we have to go there and get burgers and ice cream. Finally, the day came when my mom reluctantly took us to Dairy Queen. When we pulled up, I headed straight for the front door. My mom pulled me back and said, you can't go in there. We have to order from outside. There was a side window. I said, no, let's go in through the front. This is Dairy Queen. I've been in there before. I ran in the front door and was met with stares from angry white faces. I turned around right away and ran out and jumped into the car. I looked at my mom, ready to express my anger. Instead, I said, we don't need to go to Dairy Queen. We have the best burgers in town at home. After thinking about it, we all agreed that we did have the best burgers and the best homemade ice cream at home. I remember going to Orlando to spend the summer with my Aunt Jessie, who worked as a cook at a restaurant and arranged for me to work with her. I was one of the dishwashers. My auntie was proud of me. I did a good job keeping up, washing, sterilizing, and stacking dishes that never seemed to end. At the end of the first week, the manager came in and paid me $60 cash. I was beaming. This was the most money I had ever had at one time. On my break, I would notice the waitresses coming by carrying trays, and they wore cute uniforms. I said to Auntie, I want to be a waitress. She looked at me and said, you can't be a waitress. Blacks are not allowed in the restaurant. It dawned on me that we always entered through the back and never went inside the restaurant. Again, I felt anger building inside, but I held back because I knew Aunt Jessie must have gone through a lot to get me this job. She was so proud to have a niece beside her, and I didn't want to hurt her. Years later, I moved to San Diego and began working as a customer service representative for cable TV. After 3 years, I entered an on-the-job technical training program and was promoted to bench technician. My mother's health was deteriorating, and I told her that I was considering moving my family to Crestview to be closer to her. I said that I could get a transfer. Mom told me, You can't work here at the cable company, not as a technician. I told her that things had changed. The cable company was an equal opportunity employment company. It is prohibited to discriminate based on race, gender, or religion. It is against the law. She told me not to come because even if you got a transfer, they will make it so hard and miserable for you that if you don't quit, you will get fired. This was in 1987. I was a few credits away from earning an AS degree in electronics from San Diego City College. I came to California in 1977 because at the time, community college tuition was free for residents. I enrolled in City College and joined an organization and began to work and study my people's history that brought us to where we are today, to find solutions and discuss what it will take to change our situation. I read books by Lerone Bennett Jr., Ivan Van Sertima, Malcolm X, George Jackson, Angela Davis, and Walter Rodney. I began to see and understand that the quiet, painful acts of defiance from my mother and aunt were their way of protecting and supporting me and those around us. They knew that rebellion can be violent, dangerous, and fatal. They taught me not to, they never told me not to fight. They taught me to be cautious, to pick my battles carefully. They taught me how to survive. I earned my AS degree in electronics and met all the requirements for Bench Tech 2 and was promoted. I thought I was doing pretty good, first female bench tech in engineering, until one day I saw a sheet listing the pay scales for technicians on my supervisor's desk in plain view. I was making less than the other bench technicians. I felt the anger rise because I worked so hard, got excellent reviews, and I enjoyed my job, which was challenging and rewarding. I went to human resources with the pay list, the pay scale list, and told them if they didn't fix this, I will report this to the EEOC. The next day, my pay was adjusted. I was in Southern California. I recalled what my mother said. They will make it so hard and so miserable that you will have to leave or get fired. Well, I did not leave, nor did I get fired, though I came close a few times. It was hard working there. Every project I was handed was scrutinized. I intensified my commitment to activism and social justice. In closing, I must speak about one of the 666 laws that came into effect in Texas on September 1st. The one that is really stunning is a Texas ban on abortion called the Texas Health Beat Act, which was upheld by the US Supreme Court on September 2nd by a vote of 5-4. This restrictive abortion law literally bans abortions in the state of Texas and is a blatant attack on women's reproductive rights. And one other thing I want to say is this. In the midst of this pandemic, having free medical care and a primary care doctor to help decide when to get tested, how long to stay in isolation if positive, whether it is safe to get vaccinated, wear a mask, or both, should be on the top of any new proposals being introduced or discussed nationwide. Instead, people are hesitant, confused, uncertain, and searching for answers on social media. I am a socialist and an activist. It takes the full participation of everyone to build a society that prioritizes the needs of oppressed and working class people. We must fight for a better world for all. So I thank you for listening. Thank you, Jim, for inviting me.
Yeah, let's give her some love, please. Thank you so much. I grew up in Florida, down in Orlando, and I remember when we had all the white schools, and then we had Jones High, and that's where all the black students met. And I remember a play that my freshman year on the freshman football team, the coach called a play that had a racial epithet in it, and everybody kind of chuckled, and I wasn't raised that way. And so that's, if we were all in the same room, I'd be doing a cheer right now for Gloria. And I would say, when I say good, you say trouble. Good, good,
Trouble.
good.
Trouble.
Trouble.
And
Trouble.
Grandma, you've been making good trouble for a really long time. And I love you very much for that. Thank you for your dance. And thank you for what you taught me. And I have another
Run
sister.
on in that front door, girl.
You can take the professor out of school, but you can't take the school out of the professor. So I have another sister here that I'm really proud to introduce. I was doing a show right next to a thing called the Claire de Lunes a long time ago. It's since gone out of business. And my daughter was with me, and she was just taking piano lessons. And this young lady was watching my daughter plunk on the piano, and she walked up to her and said, "Do you mind if I play something?" And Marion moves aside, and all of a sudden, oh man, it was like that piano had neon lights on it. Fireworks were going off because she is a musician, she's a poet, she's a warrior. This is Dolores Fisher. And you're muted, dear.
Can everybody hear me pretty plainly now? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to do an old poem. I normally have to do it standing up, but in honor of why we are here, I'm going to try to do it sitting down. And it is a poem entitled, "O Lord, How Long?" The sickness has not been healed. In 1964, Mississippi, occupied by freedom workers, there was a scream. Mississippi screamed justice in long overdue social debreeding, ripped ooze crusted scabs from Mississippi soil's blood-stained clay. Rabbi Joseph Luleveld refused to fight the infected, collapsed onto a bench, a welt of blue, bruised body. Mississippi's summer heat matting his blood. He prayed strength for all God's children, especially those infected downhill over the railroad tracks in night rider, noose bearer, clay baked backwoods, sleepy, hollow cotton fields. In 1964, Fannie Lou Hamer, jaggedly limping to witness stand, heavily sitting upright, told a Johnson preempted story of back cell gel beating, rebroadcast on late night news. Global television eyes pulled away, channels surfed, cried. In the land of lush green lawns and lofty cushioned pews, in the land of dirt roads and fear-filled, half-bombed out sanctuaries downhill over the railroad tracks, isolated church body politics sang, "Lift him up by living as a Christian ought. Let the world in you the Savior see. Then man will gladly follow him who once taught, I'll draw all men unto me." In 1964, Harlem and Rochester erupted. The Northern Lie revealed no immunity to the sickness. Precursor chaos, closet skeletons danced through open doors. The sickness lion roared north, south, east, west, hell. Friends now enemies, racial, relational desiccation, chimerical life, liberty, happiness, pursuit, dry bone valley, hollow people. This is our country? Then it happened. America tore her garments. Spectral shadows, not a hoax. A triumvirate of tears, flesh decaying, so many bodies unearthed. Then James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, they were not the first nor the last. Unspeakable darkness revealed internecine sickness. In 2012, and this poem was written in 2012, despite the similarities to today. In 2012, festering sickness slithers, spewing venom from sea to shining sea, hate birthing legion. We who center must hold when things fall apart. We who prostrate ourselves humbly, a charge to keep in righteous service. If we listen, listen. Creole Martin cries out, wails cautionary, hold on, just a little while longer. Trampling drum majors jubilate as America's politicians bankroll speeches with children's lives. As sickness engulfed, ideologues employ tactical judiciary auto-da-fe to purify America's educational system. As slogans bulldozer homeless bodies into chasms of poverty. As Occupy Wall Street, and there was a new Occupy Wall Street uprising in spring 2021, as Occupy Wall Street images Mississippi summer discontent, as immoral and unethical equivocation and media spun to cannibalize the vulnerable. Can you hear it? Just beyond the breeze, thousands, as he cries out, oh Lord, how long? From a throne beyond time, the trumpet sounds, my child, not long. Thank you, Brother Jim, for inviting me.
Yeah, can we show some love, please? My goodness gracious.
That was written in 2012, and the similarities are just, it hurts.
Yes. Yeah, but nobody reads it like you do. Thank you for the medicine. Thank you for the medicine. So there's been some people who have joined us, and we are going to have an open mic after the brigade and the speakers are finished. If you would like to participate in the open mic, please put your name in the chat room in the sentence, yes, I'd like to read, and we'll put you down because we want the people that are here that are observing to be part of the dance too. And we appreciate you showing up. And I want to shout out to Malcolm, who's here, who was with me in the 100th anniversary of Langston Hughes when the Langston Hughes Poetry Circle was formed by Chico and DiegoTijuana. Malcolm, I'm really glad you came, and I hope that you might participate in the open mic today. So we're going to move on now, and I'd like to show you a event that happened because of Pilar and this young man that you're about ready to hear, Gerardo. And we were invited to go down to Sept, which is the cultural center of Tijuana, and participate in a mostly Spanish-speaking poetry weekend. And we sat up on the stage and we participated. And then by the end of the event, on the day that we were there, we all jumped in a car, and Gerardo gave me directions on how to get to the oldest taco shop in Tijuana. And I think I had a machaca burrito. I don't remember what I had, but it was the best whatever that I ever had. And these people put love in their food, and we sat out under the stars, under the umbrellas that night, and just some poets talking about life, and enjoyed the evening, enjoyed giving medicine to the wonderful people of Tijuana. So this man, the bookstore that they own is named after him. And they are a source of light for Tijuana. And this is a man who, he says he's never won any awards, but he's won some slam contests. And when you hear his voice, you'll know why. This is Gerardo Navarro. You're muted, sir.
Okay, there it is, I think. Thank you for inviting me, Jim. I really appreciate all the kind words that you give me. like Dolores was saying, it cycles and it keeps repeating, and it shows that we're not, it's very slow, the evolutionary process. And if we go on to the political, it's probably even slower than the personal. Anyways, I want to dedicate this collage of poems from the last 30 years that I put together as I was listening to you. So I dedicate it to you all guys. I don't know how much we can transcend beyond our own web of relationships, but here it goes. We speak, therefore, our minds become public space. We cry, therefore, our bodies become sacred space. We sing, therefore, our dreams become spirit breath. We drum, therefore, our heart is shared with all. We feast, therefore, we eat the body of the living. We make love, therefore, we heal the anguish of dying. A man falls, dies, becomes dust. A man is passing with his opinions folded in his wallet like bills, rolling them like straws to snort the dust lines of the man that died before on the border, whose dust lines are his life, now gone. He is dead, flying high on a dream inside a junkie's head, whose mind doesn't see what his eyes feel, floating on anguish and fears. He prays to escape his vicious circle, running against the flow of migrant people who witness him fall, die, become dust of the no man's land. I, the line, the white line, online, coastline, out of body, out of sync, out of balance. I, the wound, the timeless weight, the slime of money, the cost of freedom, the lust of love. I, the word, the border, the crosshair, crossing the affair. Like lines on the mirror, lines on your face, lines of cars and scars crossing to the USA. Not many years ago in this land, there used to be signs saying, no dogs allowed, no Mexicans allowed, no blacks allowed, no Indians allowed, no Chinese allowed, no women allowed. Hey, pink pale pilgrim of the 20th century, of the 21st century now. When does a Mexican American become an American rather than a Mexican? When does an Afro-American become an American rather than an African? When does an Asian American become an American rather than a nation? When does an Indian American become an American rather than an Indian? Hey, pink pale pilgrim of the 21st century, would you hear more of the pain of being less just because nature wrapped me in brown flesh?
Oh boy. I think you're all getting your money's worth. My goodness. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming, really. And we wish you in Pilar buena suerte for your bookstore. Yes. So Bruce Gordon is not here today, but we have a poet who's been with us since the beginning, who is a professor at Cal State San Marcos. I don't know why I was going to say Long Beach, because that's where my
Long
sister
Beach.
my sister works there. Georgie Sanchez works there, and I couldn't get that out of my head. Cal State San Marcos, where she was the head of the social department for a while, and now she's the head of the professors union there. But she's a new grandma, and the thing I can never forget is that she was the #1 slam poet in San Diego City back in the 90s. And I know a lot of her students who've gone on and graduated, and they are all successful. She was the chair for their master's degree, and they're all successful, and they use poetry in their master's dissertation. That was part of their expertise in what they were getting their master's in. One of them is in Japan now. He's married to a Japanese woman, has a son, and we stay in touch. And another one is quite the leader of the San Diego Poetry Annual now. And when Bill Harding steps down, Anthony Blackshear will take over in his place. It just goes on and on and on. She's a marvelous teacher. She's my sister. She's Sharon Elise.
Thank you, Jim. I'm going to just turn on my video for a minute so I can say hi to everybody. And you can see that I am indeed here in the flesh. And then I turn it back off because my internet makes the voice wobble if I try to have them both on. So as the new babies are coming in the family, I'm thinking about what we have learned from the old ones that have passed on. And so I wrote this piece reflecting on my grandfather, Wilbur, and it's called What Wilbur Said. We laughed with him about white Pasadena, who forgot to hang out the no niggers sign at the pool. They didn't know there was colored there. When he jumped in, they all got out, sweltering in the summer sun, while Wilbur, ace swimmer, did lap after lap, each one a salvo for the race. When he drove from one end of LA to the other to perform electrical work for the feds, the white man stood dumbfounded by his blackness, asking, will they be sending someone else? No, just me, another salvo for the race. When he worked as a custodian, he found time to read tomes of tax code in the library, confronted by a supervisor who said, is your work done? And you cannot possibly understand that. He said, it is, and I do. And now I also do people's taxes, another salvo for the race. He lived through a century of Jim Crow California, played in the Watts Symphony, joined the Colored Men's YMCA. As I reminded my daughter when she sang, the Y is an open door since 1894. Shut out, but never shut down. Electrician, musician, tax consultant, realtor, rising like Maya Angelou, salvo for the race. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for coming. Can we give her some more love, please? I want to say that over the years, I've seen you make good trouble. I've seen it be dangerous for you up there, and you still continue to speak your truth. And I really thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. Our next poet is a man that I just recently met, and I was so amazed at his writing and the way he performed it. He is a professor at Baylor University. He's joining us from Texas. We have two Texas people here. And he's just really strong with social justice. He's really strong from his heart. This is Julio Cesar Aguilar.
Thank you very much, Jim, and everyone for having me here today. I am going to read one short poem in Spanish and then in English.
Good.
Argumentación de los tiempos. Venir a saber que el tiempo, no más que una ilusión, es. llegar sabiendo que la tierra llora si nos desangramos y los hombres todos células somos de un mismo cuerpo, de cuyas raíces un jardín surge de corazones nuevos, renovados siempre y así resurgiendo. Irse entonces sabiéndolo todo, sin comprender nada, sin ningún olvido, sin olvidarse, yéndose, yéndose para volver. Argument of the times. Coming to know that time is an illusion and nothing more. Finally knowing that the earth cries if we bleed to death, and all men are cells of one same body, from whose roots a garden of new hearts surges forth, forever renewed, and therefore reviving. To go away, then, knowing it all, without understanding anything, without any oblivion, without forgetting, going away in order to return. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Let's give him some love, please. Yes, your students are really lucky to have you. Thank you for coming. So we're coming down almost towards the end, and the next poet is my neighbor. He lives behind me, and his companion, his wife, is a poet. He's a Vietnam veteran. He served our country that way, and I really love the way, especially if you like people that are mystics that write poetry, you're really going to love this man's poem. I'm going to get out of my chair now so he can sit here. This is Michael Turner Ortega. Okay.
Hey, Michael,
Yay.
good to see you.
I'm having a really good day. Thank you, everybody. The cost of my propensity for confusion. Yesterday, I was a poet. Today, I'll write about my propensity for confusion and make art in a non-objective way. I can't remember what goes where. Seeing is forgetting what was seen in the first place. Perceives multiple options. Tomorrow I'll give in. Outside the system, because capitalism has become fascism and can feel the change with my vote. Dead speed ahead, where the wild blue sea lifts, crests, breaks, and tumbles in. On a hot California day, or where the white hot sun shines in all directions to find the sacred in all things. Welcome to the 21st century. Take an observer's point of view, just dying to attend to it on time, then done with it. The meaning of everything, it's no secret. An impatient earth plucks water out of her reverie with quirky confidence at the four corners of grace. That's made evolutionary. Thank you.
when his helicopter crashed in Vietnam, in Cambodia during the Vietnam War, all his shipmates on the helicopter were killed except Michael. And when he finished gathering their dog tags, the Khmer Rouge showed up. And he was a long distance runner when he was a young man. And he ran to Laos with the Khmer Rouge chasing him till they got tired and stopped shooting at him. And so I want to thank you for how you served our country that way.
Well, thank you.
He did the Peace and Dignity run twice, which is a run. Tell him about that.
Peace and Dignity is a sacred run that's done every 4 years. And I did maybe twice the whole time from Alaska to Mexico, and other times just intermittently along the route. And where we meet with other nations from the whole continent. There's runners from Terra del Fuego, and we meet at Mexico City in Teotihuacan for a really awesome ceremony. So it's changed the world. I can feel it. Thank you. Oh, and my running, that's my mysticism.
What he didn't tell you is that from Alaska all the way down through Canada, through the United States, Mexico to Mexico City, they're carrying eagle staffs. And the tribes that they run through their territory, they give them an eagle feather, eagle staff from them, so that by the time they get to Mexico City, there's all these, the eagle is the bird that flies the highest, so we believe it takes our prayers to the Great Spirit. But the runners from the south, from Tierra del Fuego, who are running up the Pacific coast of South America to Mexico City, they're carrying condor staffs, because that's the staff of the South. And you know, when we say Americans, from our perspective, if you're listening and you've never heard this before, it's North American, Central American, South American, and then Mexico's a part of that too. So that we're all equal. That's how we mean this. So I think I want to just remind you one more time. I emailed Michael Rothenberg this morning, and I said, we are in harmony. We're in solidarity with 100,000 Poets for Change event that's happening September 25th. And the Brigade is going to give another event on Saturday, September 25th at 3 o'clock. And I wanted him to know that this what we're doing today is in the same spirit as 100,000 Poets for Change. And so all of you who read today and who are about ready to read, thank you very much for being part of that solidarity. It's like the Peace and Dignity run is for world peace. And we would like there to be more equality and peace as part of our poetry dance or our poetry walk. So I think it's time to check in with who is going to be in the open mic. Malcolm, are you going to read? Can you unmute yourself? Oh, he has to go. Okay, so he's not going to read. So Cheryl Lateef, who used to be the host for the Claire de Lune Poetic Brew, and who taught me how to perform, because I was scared to death in those days, and she made me feel comfortable and she made me feel like I belong. However, she happens to be an amazing writer as well. And so this is Cheryl Lateef.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everybody. This has been a pretty amazing afternoon. And, you know, when Dolores talked about reading an old poem and this kind of thing, I have to say that I read a lot of my old poems, my old political poems, and it doesn't matter when I wrote them because they're still so relevant. Unfortunately, they're still so relevant. You know, I'd like them to be something in the past, but they're not something in the past. And this is one of them. I wrote it during the Vietnam War. And, you know, right now I'm really having trouble with the news because I'm so sick of the war stuff. that is happening. And, you know, I'm sure it's never going to end, but of course we all want it to end, and we do things to try to get it to end and get people more on the peace train, but I don't know. So because of all that, I decided I would read this poem. It's entitled "This Hard Rain." You have lingered too long at the poisoned well, thirst quenched, death hot on your breath. Thousands take up your swords, honed and ready for battle, too young to understand the forging of steel or how this hard rain has only just begun. They march from harsh streets, tumbleweed and brush, only to find desert at every horizon. What shelter now? Bombs light the night sky, arid devastation rips through the land, sandstorms of desperate acts wrapped in words of honor, patriot redefined by symbol and hue. What peace within this narrow allegiance? What hope but war? Mothers fall to their knees. Do you hear the ground beneath them rumble? How they pray it was worth the toll, this sacrifice of sons and daughters to rubble and stone, this hollow room of uniform photographs, this crisply folded flag, like the lengthening shadow of a waning day. Grief stretches across the landscape. You are drunk with death now. The well is nearly dry. Thank you.
Thank you for coming all the way from Seattle. I think you and Julio have the longest commute today. And I wanted to welcome Claire. And Claire, do you want to read a poem today? Because we're in
not
the open.
prepared. I had trouble getting on.
Okay.
All this time to get on Zoom.
Do you want to read a poem to us today? Because we're doing the open mic section right now. Or do you just want to listen? I think you just want to listen. Okay. So remember that September 25th, we will also be doing this again at the same Zoom numbers. And I want to thank everybody for coming. I wanted to close today with a poem that I've workshopped with my critique group. And I think that part of what we're talking about today is every 9 days, and sometimes less than every 9 days, an unarmed person of color, a black man, a black woman, Latino person, woman, man, is shot and killed by the police. And the police reports, many of those police reports, if not all of them, are lies. They're lies. He had drugs. He had a gun. No, they were unarmed, and so this is a poem called "Breaking Ranks." I'd like to end our time together today with this poem. And there's a epigram that starts the poem, and it's an excerpt from Rumi and his reed flute song, and it says, "Listen to the reed and the tale it tells, how it sings of separation." And "Breaking Ranks" is a poem about don't back up a lie on a police report. Let's break ranks with that. Listen to the knee and the tale it tells, singing the song of crushing the black man's neck. What sort of man hears the black man's desperate surrender, but continues to steal his life? Crush the breath that cries, mama. The black man cries for the breast of his mother, but the knee has no ear for mercy. The knee only knows delivering the hate of the master, hate that's 600 years old. The knee has no feeling for the tears of the black man, the tears of a nation, my nation. What sort of man forgets that mercy's in the same canoe as protect and serve? Listen to the bullet and the tale it tells, joining other bullets, ending the black woman's life. She's asleep in her own house. She's probably tired from working all the time, working to defeat the COVID-19. That's why she was asleep that night. Yes, brothers and sisters from the Mercy tribe, she was asleep in her own house when the bullets of fear and hate snatched her life. The bullets were at the wrong house. The bullets were delivered by mistake and hate, another version of strange fruit dispatched by the blue-black gun instead of a hangman's rope. The pale finger pulling the blue-black trigger, old wine, new bottle from old lethal Jim Crow, used to stealing dignity, used to stealing schooling, used to stealing the pulse of respect. Listen to the silence and the tale it tells of the men and women in the blue-black dress standing with one of their clan colleagues, not trained to know the left from the right, the taser side from the gun side, and one more black youth is dead at a traffic stop for an air freshener on the rearview mirror. When will you break ranks with your clan colleagues? When will you stop covering lies with your silence? He had a gun. No, he didn't. He was on drugs. No, he wasn't. He was a gang member. Most teens aren't. Teens just like to hang out together. That shouldn't be a death sentence. When will you stop covering for bogus police reports? Your partner stays silent about your lies. Your captain stays silent about your lies. Your chief stays silent about your lies. Break ranks with lies and know that Dante Wright was America's future leader. Adam Toledo was America's future leader. A rope was not used on Sandra Bland, already a leader in America, but the result was the same. Breonna Taylor, shot 8 times by Klan mentality, was already a leader in America, a trained EMT helping to fight Corona-19. Rest in peace, brother George Floyd. We refuse to hate the attitude behind the knee that stole your life. That would make us like them. Rest in peace, sister Sandra Bland. We refuse to hate the hate that hanged you. That would make us like them. We, the real spirit of America, the real America of equality and justice for all, we will stay vigilant and not hate. We will welcome and protect those who break ranks as brothers and sisters of justice. Yesterday, the lies stopped. Handcuffs were binding a carrier of arrogance and hate. We listened to the knee and the tale it told of white privilege turning lethal bold, stealing an unarmed black life. Rest in peace, brother Dante Wright. Rest in peace, painfully young nephew Adam Toledo. Rest in peace, the 123 unarmed names who died from Klan law divorcement that we called out tonight. We are the tribe of breaking ranks to stop the unarmed deaths. We are the tribe of breaking ranks to defeat the lies. It's about time you joined up with us. Listen to the truth and the tale it tells. Can we give some love for Alfred Williams, who recorded us tonight? And we'll make sure all of your words are on YouTube in the next few days. We're going to be putting this on YouTube every other day until September 14th. I know your words are going to bring more votes of no. Vote no on the recall. Thank you for coming. I'm Jim Moreno, and I love you all.
Great job, Jim.
Thank you.
If you want to
Thank you, Alfred.
Thank you.
you want to hang out with us a little while, I'm going to stay on. If you want to talk to one another about the poems, I'll stay on here until we're all done. So,
I'm gonna stop the
please
recording
stay
now.
on with us.